So I've got a bias strip of silk that's been pinked on either side, and I'm stitching on the largest stitch on the sewing machine, number 5 on this one, in a zigzag. So from side to side. When I get to the point, I lift the foot up, turn the fabric, put the foot back down, go to the next point, lift the foot up, put it back down, machine. Make sure that you leave a long tail at the end. Okay, now we've stitched it all, zigzagged across, and I'm going to get the under thread and I'm just going to gently pull it and gather it up. So fiddle with it till you're happy with it. And you get a nice little bit of decoration. You see this on English back dresses, sack back dresses. You see it all down the front. They have a bigger version on the bottom of the skirt. Pinking it will stop it fraying so much if you got your true bias. You could also put a bit of lace on there and gather it up, but you would need kind of like pointed lace, because if you put straight lace, it won't go around the bias. It'll fight. So if you're going to add some lace, do a little bit of like dagged lace or something would work. So this is another double-edged frill. It's some taffeta. I put a bit of lace on either side, 2 lines of stitching, you can see that. And I draw the thread up underneath and gather it up. So that's a double-edged frill as well. Another way you can do these ruffles is a couple of layers. I've got silk, organza. I'm going to try 3 layers. I've pinked them and I'm just going to do a running stitch down the center and draw a machine down the center, and I'm going to draw it up now. So I've gathered the thread up, and you could ruffle them up. This is on the straight, you could do it on the bias, so just play with it, put different fabrics together, just use your imagination. So another thing you could use this for, like a little neck collar, you could make it a lot wider and then fold it with accordion in the middle so that they close up, and then you'll get sort of like a clown's collar. So you could box pleat them up, ruffle them up, whatever takes your fancy, and make it a lot wider, and then they'll fold together and you'll get a nice ruff. So another variation on doing the zigzag stitch on the bias strip and then ruching it up to get this sort of curvy frill. We did it on the pink as well, so you can see better the stitching on this. So just in a zigzag carry on. So I've got a bit of straight ribbon here, so a wider ribbon. I fold it in half and I'm doing the stitches. And on each point, where the 2 edges are folded together, I'm adding a bead. And then I'm doing 3 little small running stitches. I'm doing it in a coloured thread so you can see the contrast, but you would do it in the proper colour. Then add another bead. So pearls would be nice on this. And then what you do is just pull it out very gently. So this is it, pulled up. And you got a really nice little bit of trim there with the bead in the middle. Little tip, I would melt the ribbon at the end so it's not fraying before you started. Use the double thread because you got to tug it quite a bit to pull them beads up, so with a single thread it might snap. And you could use this in lots of different ways. You put it on straight, curved, you could build it into a flower, put something in the center so it's like little petals. Simple, quick method to make your own trim. When you're trying to make an effective ruched up fabric, if you get some silk, put it on a base. This is just calico, could be some more silk. And you're just pushing it up in sections till you get like shape you want. And then I've turned it over and put a little pin just to keep where I want it to be ruched up. So I've pinned them all in the places, and then I've took the pin out for each section. Where's my hand needle gone? Yeah, so then I'll just come and put my finger under, pull my pin out, do a little prick stitch. You can feel it with my finger underneath. That just holds it. Put my finger again. So in a similar color, you won't see it from the other side. So just lightly sew it, and they're just caught everywhere, and that keeps it in position. So this could be used for all kinds. So in the picture on the PowerPoint, it's used as the cuff. It could be on, you could put it on your Bertha if you wanted. All kinds of colors. Could do it down the front section. You can also like twist these around and do it, and you get like a it looks like a bit like a rose when you do that. So if you just take your fabric and start twisting it like that, and then pin it as you're twisting it. So you can do lots of effects with it. It's a nice quick way of getting some really good detail. It's a nice little way to make some little rose buds is get a piece of ribbon, fold it diagonal, and then fold it across, and keep going back and forth. So you're creating this little box, kind of accordion type of shape. If you look at it, it'll be like that. So if you carry on doing that for a little bit, all my pieces, my length like that, and then I'm holding these two across like this. And then I'm just going to pull up on one, and they all bunch up into a little rosebud. Then just secure it with a couple of threads. An easy way to decorate bodices is you can use these fabrics that are pre-embroidered. long as your background blends into the colour of your bodice. Before I put this bodice together, if I overlaid this on top and then I could catch it in the seams, and it looks like I've spent hours embroidering that. So it's a quick way to add detail. This is a bit of beadwork. I could just add it on, catch it in the seams again, or else I could even cut a way around it and just prick stitch it directly on to the bodice. And it's an easy way. You can reuse things, you can take them off. If you've made a mistake, put it too high, you can lift it and move it down. You can use it in lots of different ways. You can add to it, put more beads and some braiding and build up your motif. Yeah, so quick, easy way of getting lots of lovely detail onto your bodice. And other stuff, can be anywhere. So again, this is some lace fabric. It's kind of got a little netting in between. It matches the colour of this bodice I've just made with the second years. And I could mount this onto the silk and catch it in the seams again. Or this one's a quite good lace that it's got net in between. And I'm cutting the motifs out. So I can cut these out and add beads and stuff and build it up. So I've cut around the flowers a little bit, and I could place that just as a motif. I could add some cording on it, more beads. I could lay this onto another piece of net, a similar color as the background, and build up that way, and then apply it to the bodice. So lots of different ways you can get quick effects without having to do all the labor intensive hand embroidery and beading and stuff like that. So this is a motif that's really been built up. It's been pre-made. It's got organza here, and they've couched braiding around the edge, and then they've beaded some jetting here. There's some jetting beaded across, more beadwork there, and then they've curled this cord round and they put beads in between, so it's quite detailed. A lot of work, this one, but you can see how you can build things up. They've added a little bit of a fan there. This is more jetting in between the gaps, so they put a bead there and then just put the long jetting in there. So Russia braid, beads, organza, and normal beads and jetting. So it's amazing what you can create. And if you create it separately and then you can add it, then you could add it to whatever you wanted to put it on. And that way it's not just stuck on that one piece. You can remove it and use it for something else. So I've done 2 parallel lines of stitching 1/2 inch apart on this 1 inch wide ribbon, and I've drawn up the threads together, and then I'll try and take control and rearrange it. So this will give me my pleating, a really even pleating up. And then I will attach it to some Petersham. So there's it underneath gathered up, so it's a 1/2 inch wide, and then when I pop it to I'll stitch it to a piece of 1/2 inch piece on either side, and then you get the 8ths on the front. So that's a little quick way of showing you on some pre-made ribbon, but you would make your own out of linen, lawn. And a good little trick is when you're using linen and lawn, if you back it with net and then cartridge pleat it up, and the net will support the fabric and you're able to wash them quickly in theatre without them collapsing. Whereas if you don't put the net in, you do it authentically, you have to starch them and press them, steam them to get the 8ths. And then what you would do, you would catch the 8ths at each point with a thread. Back in the day, they used to pin them in place with little pins with beads on them. So also you could, before you gathered it up, you could put your trim on the edge. You could use a bit of the fabric with the net in between, like 2 layers of organza with the net in between, and attach some trim on the edge and then gather it up. So lots of ways of doing it. This could be a cute little Barbie doll ruff. Sometimes on the inner edge, when they're a lot wider, when you're making them a lot wider that way, you'll find it's too bulky here. If you've made them deep and wide and it's even across, so to collapse it down near the neck so it's wider out of the neck and now we're coming into the neck, you'd box pleat these down first and then cartridge pleat them up. So lots of ways of doing it. You can also do ruffs on the Spanish frill that I was showing you, the circular frills. They will work as well. You can join loads of them up and cartridge pleat them up. They work to about a depth of 2 inches and then they don't work anymore. They get ridiculous, the volume. But what's nice about doing it on the circular, it's wider on the outer edge is what you want, and now are at the front without having to box pleat it down. So lots of ways of doing it. But the circular one, it does waste a lot more fabric. Yeah, and I think these ribbons are quite cute actually. It's the first time I've done it on ribbon. So this could be a nice little wrist one with ribbon. Saves you all the work of prepping the strips. Yeah, so they're ruffs for you in lockdown.